So Simpli.fi is a program, is commonly known as a DSP, a demand-side platform in the programmatic space. And the part of the world we focus on is bringing the power of programmatic advertising to local. Our general premise is that programmatic advertising is probably the biggest thing to come along in advertising since this thing called search that Google seems to have made a pretty nice business out of. But most of the investment in our world has been at national advertisers, big budget advertisers. So our approach is how do we bring this power of programmatic to the little guy? So a couple trends in our space. Programmatic is eating the world, to paraphrase Mark Andreessen. What some people don't realize is that this yellow is the display part of the business, which is really starting to flatten off here. And really the growth in future years is coming from this blue, which is mobile, and in the red, which is video. And in fact, we are now 60% of the traffic on our platform is mobile now, which has been a huge turnaround since just a year ago. The other trend that some people don't realize also is that digital local is growing. So a lot of the local advertisers were slow to adopt digital. And so whereas this is local advertising, traditional local, but digital local is the part of the local advertising that's really growing. So that's a nice tailwind we have. And then the third thing, just like to point out, is that in localized advertising, about half of it is done by local SMBs. The other half, which is increasing quickly, are national advertisers who want to localize a campaign. So they don't want to run a blanket campaign across the country, but they'd rather localize. So our approach is to come to these people who are looking to localize, to drive localized advertising, and bring a complete platform, including mobile, as I mentioned, display, social, video, and native coming soon. And so as part of that, and I won't go through all this, but as part of that, there's a lot of things as a DSP you need to bring to the party. We need to bring data and multiple data sources, and I'll talk about that in a second. Various targeting tactics. If we want to be the one programmatic platform for them, we need to bring various targeting, site retargeting, search retargeting. Geo-fenced mobile is is very interesting in the local space. And then we have to have access to all the programmatic inventory. So we're plugged into all the real-time bidded sources of inventory, 20-something supply-side platforms and exchanges where we get our bid. And our positioning is basically this. There's some very large DSPs in the space who are really, we call the national platforms, really very much focused on larger advertisers. So they would tend to look at advertisers who are going to spend thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars per month. We also see a lot of point solutions in the local space. So people who may be doing just mobile or just video or just social or just native offering in the local space. So we're positioning as the platform that's focused on local. So as opposed to having advertisers who might spend thousands of dollars a month, we have 40,000 live campaigns on our platform at any time. Average spend on those campaigns is about $200 a month, right? And so it's much smaller spend. We have the median size. So out of our 40,000, 20,000 campaigns are spending less than $100 a month, right? So we have taken this idea of programmatic and how do we optimize it and get performance out of it for the smaller ones. And so it's focused on local. There's really two things that we need to do differently than the other guys. And one is to be able to customize audiences for a local need. So you think of Subway sandwiches, QSR space is good for us. The sandwiches that and the product that the sandwich shop in Philly, right, is selling, probably cheesesteaks. What he's selling in Subway sandwich shop in Newport Beach is alfalfa sprouts, avocados, who knows what out there. So very different audience for a Subway sandwich shop in Philly to Newport Beach. And I'll have an example also with auto dealers. You think about the different sorts of products they sell. So this ability to customize audiences, even for advertisers who are spending a couple $100 a month, is what we do. And then the question is, how do you get performance out of small campaigns? Some of the larger platforms won't even start to drive optimization until campaigns spend thousands of dollars. So we need to start with our customers. They need to start seeing performance spending hundreds of dollars or less. And so there's a whole bunch of workflow and automation that we need to go do that. Our secret sauce that enables us to focus on local and really be good at these last two things is we use data in a very different way. If you think about when programmatic came about, it gave the ability, real-time bidding gave the ability of buying one piece of inventory at a time, but most of the platforms carried over a legacy approach of using these audience segments. Soccer moms, digital divas, millennials, what have you. And so we took an approach that was a lot more like search again and said, hey, how about if you could keep this data unstructured and let advertisers create their own audiences and optimize them on the fly using things like search terms or geofences or contextual keywords. And so we use a much more granular data, which enables us to get performance out of these more granular campaigns. So an example just to highlight that is, so if you think about a Toyota intender audience segment, right? So Toyota, #1 selling car is the Camry, #1 selling car in the country, right? So if you think about an auto dealer, buying a Toyota intender, it's going to be heavy up on Camrys because that's sort of the general, the biggest selling Toyota. But if you look at, think about the Toyota dealer in Palo Alto, California, where my brother lives, lot full of Priuses out there, right? So it's a very different product. They have people there who are looking for fuel economy, electric cars, competitors like the Nissan Leaf, et cetera. And that compares, I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. And so let me guarantee you, the lot in Fort Worth, Texas does not have a lot of Priuses on it, right? It's got Tundra pickup trucks. People care about towing capacity, load carrying. Fuel economy, not such a big deal, as you might guess.
The red and blue there.
Yeah, well, he's very, very observant there, Nick. So, so this idea that we can customize for both political affiliation as well as for these local audiences is what we do. So when we run auto campaigns, we customize down to that dealer, to the competitors he's dealing with, et cetera. So that's really the sort of infrastructure that allows us to do it. And you say, well, hey, this unstructured data, say, well, why, so great, why doesn't everyone do it? It's really, we started going down this path. And so what happens, if you think about a national platform, they might load in 10, maybe 20 different audience segments in a target. We'll load in search terms or contextual keywords or geofences, typically 1,000 or more. So you have sort of 1,000, 100 times, maybe up to 1,000 times more targeting parameters that we need to bid against, optimize against, report against. And it's just a different infrastructure that we started 6 years ago when we started building that out. And so the other thing is in local, similarly, so we just actually we're 40,000 campaigns now as of a few days ago. So typically we have about 10 times probably the campaigns of many of the big national players. And these are again spending, many of them spending just a few dollars a day. So the infrastructure around how do you manage, onboard, manage, report against, optimize, you have to have a lot of automation because you can't have people looking at a bunch of campaigns that spend this. So it's just an infrastructure that we've built around local. We focus on two types of local advertisers. We go to all local advertisers, but we don't call on the local businesses directly. We do that through media companies, so companies in the TV business, cable business, newspaper business, radio business use our platform to power a programmatic offering that their local sales force sells to their customers. And then we also go directly to national brands and their agencies, and these are national multi-location brands in the quick service restaurant, financial, real estate, retail spaces, right? Tip, since we're here in beautiful Boston, this crowd might remember who Tip O'Neill is. My new hires in Texas, or I have to explain who Ronald Reagan is first before I can explain Tip O'Neill. But he had a view that, hey, all politics is local, and our view is, really all advertising should be local, and we're starting at the very most granular level, and we roll from there. We see more and more national advertisers saying, hey, what are the benefits of localizing my campaigns? So with that, and I can't see, I've got 15 seconds if there are any questions, which I could answer quickly. If not, I'll hand it over. Thanks very much.